Hey everyone, welcome to the Explainer. Today we are stepping right into the era of modern times. I mean, think about it. The massive, world-altering shifts from the Industrial Revolution all the way up through the Cold War. How do we even begin to understand a whole era like that? Well, we need a very specific set of tools. Okay, let's dive into this historical detective journey. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with making sense of data, then move to finding the historical trend. After that, we'll look at a modern times example, learn how to avoid the misconception trap, give you a chance with your turn to check, and finally wrap it all up with the cautious conclusion.
Okay, part 1. Making sense of data. Becoming a historical detective.
So, here's the thing. Historians can't just guess about what happened in the past. If we really want to understand how our modern world was shaped, we've got to act like detectives. We are looking for very specific clues. And our main clues? Well, they're data. Which brings us to the big, essential question for our entire Modern Times unit. How did conflict and connection shape the modern world? To answer massive, complex questions like this, whether it's about global conflicts, shifting alliances, or industrialization, we absolutely must rely on hard evidence. We simply can't just run on assumptions.
So, how do we actually do that in practice? We use what we call the 4-step data check method. Step 1, read data. Step 2, compare evidence. Step 3, find trends. And step 4, conclude cautiously. These 4 little steps, they are your primary toolkit for the rest of this explainer and, honestly, for your entire journey as a historical detective. Memorize them because they're going to be your absolute best friends.
Moving right along to part 2, finding the historical trend. What are we looking for?
Once we've actually read our data and compared our clues, what's the end goal? What exactly are we trying to pull out of all that information? We are looking for a historical trend. And by definition, that's a pattern of change or continuity over time. Think of things like major shifts in global trade, the sudden rise of new political ideas, or lasting changes in how societies interact with each other. So the crucial point here is that trends help us zoom out. It's like taking a step back from a giant puzzle. They allow us to see the much bigger picture of interactions among human societies and their environments, instead of just getting completely bogged down in a random list of isolated facts and dates.
Let's look at part 3, a modern times example, the Industrial Revolution.
All right, time to put our new skills to the test. Let's look at an era when industry and nationalism brought immense changes to societies all across the globe. Let's apply our first 2 steps right now. Read the data and compare the evidence. On the left side here, evidence A shows that factory production and technological developments are skyrocketing. It's this massive boom of science and innovation. But over on the right, evidence B tells us that workers face crowded, difficult conditions in these brand new factory cities. So I'm comparing these 2 pieces of data, and I'm instantly noticing a massive contrast. One shows incredible scientific advancement, while the other reveals a very, very real societal struggle. When I do this, as a historian, my internal monologue sounds a bit like this. Okay, when I look at evidence A, I see rapid progress. But wait, evidence B shows the heavy human cost. Now, what's really interesting about comparing these 2 perspectives is how it totally prevents us from getting a one-sided, inaccurate view of history. I mean, if we only looked at evidence A, we'd think it was a flawless time period. And if we only looked at evidence B, we'd think it was nothing but pure misery. The truth? We need both clues to actually see the full picture. Which brings us right to step 3, finding the trend. Based on our combined evidence, we can confidently state this. Industrialization brought both rapid technological advancements and new, difficult social challenges. Notice how this trend perfectly links science, technology, and society together. It acknowledges both the rapid, explosive change in production and the continuity of human struggles. It's all connected. Next up, part 4, the misconception trap, jumping to conclusions. You know, even with absolutely great data, new historians sometimes stumble right here at the finish line. Imagine someone reading our data and suddenly declaring, the Industrial Revolution completely ruined society and brought absolutely zero benefits to anyone ever, right? This brilliantly illustrates a major pitfall you need to actively avoid when you're wrapping up your analysis. Making absolute, extreme claims like completely ruined or zero benefits is a massive trap. Historical clues are rarely that black and white. The data we just looked at simply doesn't support that level of extreme all-or-nothing certainty. So how do we fix this? Well, we use step 4, the cautious conclusion. A cautious conclusion is a summary based directly on the evidence that actively avoids absolute claims. Instead of using extreme words like always or never, we use measured words, words like suggests,
likely, or indicates. This kind of careful language respects the actual limits of our historical clues, while still showing exactly what we've learned from the data.
Okay, part 5. Your turn to check. You are the historian.
All right, you've seen how it's done. Now it's your turn to take the wheel. We're going to apply our 4-step toolkit to a completely new modern-time scenario. Based on the evidence I'm about to show you, what cautious conclusion can we draw about nations right before World War I? We're investigating the causes and effects of global conflict here, which is honestly a massive part of understanding modern history.
Okay, take a careful look at your clues. On the left side, the data shows European nations rapidly building up massive armies. On the right side, the data shows those same nations secretly signing defense alliances. I want you to mentally pause for a second, read the data, and compare this evidence. Let's see how this builds our understanding. What trend do you see forming here? And more importantly, how would you state it cautiously?
Let's see how you did. If you followed the 4 steps, you might have come up with points just like these. The data suggests rising tensions in Europe. It is likely that militarism and alliances were connected causes of conflict. Or you could say the evidence indicates nations were preparing for potential war. Did you notice the highlighted words? Suggests, likely, indicates. You are stating the facts based on the clues, but you aren't falling into that misconception trap. Great job!
Finally, part 6, the cautious conclusion, bringing it all together. Hey, congratulations! You've just successfully practiced a highly complex historical analysis skill. You didn't just passively memorize a bunch of dates, you actually analyzed the past like a true professional. Let's do a rapid final review of your new toolkit. 1. Read the data carefully. 2. Compare the evidence to get multiple perspectives. 3. Identify the trend to see the big picture. And 4. State a cautious conclusion to avoid making absolute, unsupported claims. Using this exact process is exactly how historians truly understand the massive patterns of change and continuity throughout modern world history.
I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought today. You know, these aren't just skills for the history classroom. How will you use your new data check skills to carefully analyze the news, the social media feeds, and the endless stream of data shaping our contemporary world today? Because those trends, they are still happening right now. The next time you see a bold claim online, remember to read the data, look for the trend, and demand a cautious conclusion. Keep investigating, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.